putting that into that. All right, it's a little dark, but you get the idea.
You could try to play, but you're never gonna beat me. Look the other way, what I'm doing ain't easy. Bloody hands stained from the people who deceive me. Muddy hands break through the chains, go free me. Looking for change, looking for...
We've picked up this 1996 Ford Explorer. Why did we pick this up? Well, let's just have a look under the old power barn, shall we? Oh, what do we have here? We have a 302 with the GT40 heads. That's right, we're up in the power in the Mustang. We've pulled the engine out. We're going to move the Explorer out, and we're going to clean up a few things, and then we're going to get on to putting that into that. All right, it's a little dark, but you get the idea. Moving on. All right, let's update you on the progress with the Mustang. So what we've done so far is we've changed the oil pan because we had to get the Explorer pan off, get this Mustang one on there. The other thing we've done is we've taken off the mounts and put on these mounts for the Mustang. So with all that in place, we're ready to try to drop this into the car. Let's see how that goes. We pulled the engine out of the Explorer, and that was around, well, we were still wearing t-shirts. As you can see, I'm wearing one right now. However, that was a whole week ago, and we live in Canada. So we've gone from about plus 15 degrees Celsius, or about 65 degrees Fahrenheit, to minus 30 degrees Celsius, or about minus 25 degrees Fahrenheit. And with that in mind, I'm just going to put on my little jacket just so we can go get the Mustang back in the garage. So we're just going to venture outside and push it, line it up with the garage, and get it in. But I just want to dress appropriately for
push it through half a foot of bloody snow in minus 28 degrees Celsius. That sounds like fun. Let's go.
Yeah, quit your whining. Nice. Yeah, check it out. Yeah. All right, let's get the car pushed in. Here we are, still working on this Mustang, and I've worn the proper attire for just such a job. Now, in typical mongrel fashion, we're on a budget. So this is not an unusual swap, putting Explorer heads and onto a Mustang GT. However, we haven't just done the heads. We've taken the whole assembly out of the Explorer and put it into this Mustang. Why? Because we're on an extreme budget for this build. And the other reason is this is an OBD2 system, came out of a 96 Explorer. So we want to keep that intact. So we're doing things just a little bit different. We're keeping the distributorless ignition system intact. We're keeping it all intact and putting it in here. As you can see, I've once again done one of my fantastic wiring jobs. Just not a lot of information on how to wire this system up. It's just not out there, so I took my best guess. Usually you need power, you need ground, and the rest of it's kind of self-contained. We'll have to figure out some of the other sensors as we go, but we're going to see if this works. So let's dump some fuel down the throat, give it a try, and see what happens. We have an ignition switch, and we have a starter. This might end up being loud, Chris. Watch your ears. I'm going to stand this way. Fire extinguisher's behind you there. I would call that a success, sir. So there you go, man. This is an 84 Mustang. Not really meant for this. It was originally a fuel-injected car, but it was a CFI fuel-injected car. So it's a completely different system, and it was pre-OBD, so OBD2. So we got the OBD2, we've got distributorless ignition. Now we just got to get the car wired up to this, which if you know where everything comes from in the car, it's not a big deal.
Yeah, when they say this is CFI, how does that differ from, you know, I'm used to throttle body injection, TBI, stuff like that.
Yeah, well, those are kind of the GM terminologies and stuff like that. This is the Ford terminology for throttle body injection, essentially. Central fuel injection system. It had basically a throttle body with 2 injectors in it. Here's what used to be on the engine height. And the reason we did this is this car was ready to go to the scrapyard, basically, right? And we bought it as just a shell of a car, didn't have an engine, someone had hacked it, all the wiring up in it. So it was just easier to go this route. We bought a donor Explorer, and we said, well, what the heck, let's see if we can do this. Someone had ridden this car off. It was beyond their capabilities or something. I don't know what the actual reason was. It's actually not in that bad a shape as we've gone through. Sure, it needs a few things, but so for us, it was just easier to buy a used Explorer and just grab everything out of that. I mean, that thing's got the wiring, it's got the fuel pump, it's got the engine. The transmission was bad in it, that's why we got a good deal on it.
Yeah.
But if we need to, we can always grab that transmission and rebuild it. It even had the nice rear axle in it. It's a 2-wheel drive Explorer, right? It had that nice 8.8 in it.
I mean, we bought this car for $250 Canadian. We bought the Explorer for $400 Canadian. So we're in this in total for $650 plus roughly $100 worth of Mary Brown's chicken.
Yeah, but also remember, we sold the headlights and the grille of the Explorer for $150.
That's true, and
so we recouped some of that cost already.
Depending on the rear, supposedly this has the desirable 373 posi or traction lock rear end in it.
Yeah.
Which means we could probably sell that Explorer rear end for, I don't know, $500-600 if you're lucky.
Well, if we're lucky, even if we want to get a couple $100 out of it, that's still money back into this project, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we're doing pretty good. We're well ahead of the game at this point. So let's carry on, see what else we can do. Now I've got to figure out all this. I'm going to send you back to work on the fuel system. Does that work for you?
That sounds good.
All right, let's get to it. Thanks for taking the time to watch the video up to this point. And at this time, I'd like to invite you to hit the old thumbs up, give us a like. It greatly helps out the channel and we really appreciate it. Now, as you can see, we've moved this back outside, tucked it in a corner because we had to make room for another project. I'd also like to hear your comments and participate in the project. What should we do with this? Should we keep it low dollar? Should we try to get it back on the road as cheap as we can? Do we leave it fuel injected? Do we carburate it? No, that's a bad idea. I really look forward to reading your comments, getting your input on it, on what direction you think we should go. Do we relegate it back to the island of despair where we found it? And if you haven't already checked out when we found this car, go ahead, watch the video. It's right here. I'll put a link down below as well. I'd like to really thank you for taking the time out of your day to join us. See you on the next video. Have an awesome day. Is that a rabbit? No, I think it's a cat.